Welcome back. My name is Ezilii, and you're watching my series on Vale, which is a City Skylines highly detailed build, I guess. I mean, highly detailed. It's definitely very modded. And it's in Sandbox. And if this is the first time you've caught this series, it's loosely based on Southern California, but it doesn't look anything like it. This episode, we build a crap ton on the highway. I've been struggling with this. But what we're doing is we're running a loop through to our other connection. And if you take a peek at my process, I draw one. And I line them up, and I draw it backwards. And of course, with the align height tool and move it, it makes it easier to push everything back down, which you're gonna see I'm gonna have to do a lot when I come up through here. I'm using my tree brush to remove those trees. And now we're gonna make even more messes. But I think I leave it at that for this episode. So I have not been satisfied with how this actually connects. You can see it's elevated. It's elevated to get over the rail, but then to land on that hillside. I didn't like how that did its transition thing. I mean, that looks okay, but it doesn't have the North American coloring, which I think I had to go figure something out. So you saw me saving, and then bam, we're back. So I've struggled, and there's a lot of little struggles within this. Last episode was kind of short. This one is about 30 minutes. So I'm working on this highway. And highways, they're not my weak thing. Some of my highway work is very strong, but I'm trying to plan out how the heck this is gonna work, because I'm expecting to put an airport here, in this region, somewhere where about I'm working. And my vision is to take the highway underneath the airport, whether it's the buildings and the runways, or just runways that extend across the highway. Kind of similar to if you pulled up LAX. And I'm trying to reason out how I'm going to get my mass transit through this corridor. And I'm looking and I'm playing and I'm measuring. And I'm like, but I'm going to take it underneath the airport. And then I discover that I can't have my roads too close, because since I guess it was mass transit, they've always, it's either, green cities. Since green cities, they always have that little bit of body to them. They used to be flat to an extent. But now, since that, they have a little more body to them. And so that was me kind of figuring and testing things out, and you'll see where we get here in a minute. So I decided I was going to make highway all the way up to here. But I decided, instead of changing from highway to surface street, which is what I was contemplating on doing originally, I decided I'm going to just bring the highway all the way out and then have my port connect directly to that highway to an extent. When you play the game vanilla with no mods, you want to make sure that your rail and your seaports all connect directly to highway as quick as possible. This does two things. It gets your cars, or your trucks rather, to the highway immediately, which should expedite delivery. And then if you have one-way traffic flow through those services, so a one-way road that goes around maybe a seaport and a one-way road that does a loop around a rail depot, you control traffic coming into it and exiting from it. Which makes sense if you have it connected to your highway immediately, then the highway does the filtering and you're not filtering the traffic on surface streets where they have to wait for a stoplight. If cars have to go right when they get onto the highway, they take the exit to the right. If they have to go left to get on the highway to go where they're going, they just simply take it to the left. And that puts the stress and the burden more on the highway, which, when done correctly, is a very efficient system in your city. With enough points of access, you can knock out a lot of traffic headache. On the same time, if you put too many points of access, you can cause yourself a traffic headache, right? So I decided that I was going to run this highway over the rail line. And I was going to do this funky little two-way directional exit. So as traffic wants to exit the highway, they do a little bit of a hook. I think it's referred to as a jug handle or a mug handle. While when traffic wants to get on that direction of the highway, they also take that same route, but then it splits right before it gets to the highway. So I made those very straight connections there, and then I used Move It to bend them into place, and then I used Move It to punch that at the same level. Let's go boop. And it's like, straight slope, why you failing me? And bam. Looks a little better. So there's a picture of the jug handle. And that's a two-way national road. And what it does is that's a part of the exit, which I'm going to tie in to here. And then I'm going to use Traffic Manager to speed up that road. Now, arguably, we're not done with that, but we are more done than where we were. And now it's like, how do I really connect this? Do I do a T? Do I do a trumpet type thing? I don't know. But this is also when the game was crashing continuously for me. So this could have been the third or fourth iteration of this highway. I don't recall. In fact, I don't think it looks like this. Maybe. I recorded this, I believe, in June, if not early July. Just so you guys know, today is August 2nd. When I'm doing this voiceover. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I get all of these cars going this direction to split off and have 3 lanes of traffic continue this way and have 3 lanes of traffic continue that way? And then I decide, nope. As cool as that might look to have these big, massive highways and then split, sometimes the traffic, the AI, even though you can control it to an extent, just it won't like it. It'll just start to merge people. I'm sitting here the whole time I'm thinking, gosh, what can I do? 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 Like, do I do it? Do I do it? Like, I mean, it kind of works. I don't think I kept it. But I have a tutorial on smooth slopes on the channel. So if you're wondering how that's all smooth, I actually walk you through that step by step. That's a roller coaster. Move It is such an invaluable tool. This is all wrong. Don't ever do that. I don't think I kept it. In fact, I think this crashed. And I think when I recorded it, I said something like, well, this is what's gonna happen. I don't know, we'll have to load up the game and check. Soon. But it is pretty smooth. Okay, so now that it's connected to the highway, we have to connect it to the highway. We also need to get people living here. And do you remember when we were messing with the metro track? Dun, 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 dun. How do we get locals to our event center? Metro overhaul mod, baby. Let's do this. Do we do the ground? Do we do the ground? I don't know. I mean, then that means we have to have a train crossing right next to the highway exit. And I'm thinking, can I bring it from underground? How do I do this? That was me looking at the aesthetics. Classic versus modern. Yeah, that's right. I just did that. Do you know how much problems that's gonna cause? How many problems? Like, now we're talking. Now we're playing smart. Until we shove that on top of the street line. If you're one of 92 people in the city, would you take this train into the event center for your next PAX, BlizzCon, TwitchCon, PDXCon, GamesCon, Frontier Fest, Comic-Con? Would you? But now I have to work out, how do I get my depot in this space? I have to take the train, I have to take the metro underneath the rail. They don't connect, right? They're two different systems. That's done on purpose. It's like, oh yeah, terraforming time. Let's do this. That might be the future home of an amusement park. Just saying. Just putting that out there. I'm a fan of making these right turn lanes and then turning off those stoplights. Like, bam. You could keep turning right. I have a tutorial on doing that as well on this channel. Oops, we can see the matrix. All this does is dips underneath that rail. That's all it's meant to do. Go bloop. Train. It's nice to see the train is running. I love it when the city starts to come alive. And now that we're connected to the highway, look at all this traffic that's coming through. I know it's not like a ton of traffic, but you get to see it actually work. That's probably the most satisfying element to this game, is building the connections and then see them get used and to see them actually work. Now you notice those trucks turned left at that light there on the top right of the screen, which we can't see right now. On the left side here that's just barely off screen goes out to the cargo harbor. The side to the right goes to the industry, the hotels, and the passenger hub. The trucks come from the cargo or the rail. They have to get to this avenue or this parkway, and then they get to go where they want to go. Yes, right now that's kind of an issue potentially, but I don't have a lot of stuff built. And as my mom would say, why don't you turn on a light to see things? There we go. And so now we're connecting this, and I'm like, can I connect that? No, but I can run it parallel to this and have the two tracks running parallel through here. So they go to different parts of the city. Look at that train. So now these are going to be ran parallel underneath this highway. And the idea is, even though the rest of the city's not there, that I will have this connection that branches out towards this part of the city. And I could then connect it. If I didn't do this now, I'll be doing it in the future, wondering why I didn't do it ahead of time. So I'm just running this out. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not going to connect to anything yet, but I'm just getting it out of this quarter of the city. And then as we add our train service and we add our other little tiny parts of the city and we add our stations, I could then tie into this. This one connection can have infinite connections off of it, but I just need to have the depot connected to it. Ideally, when this system is probably done, there will be this route that has the stop here by the event center that we just put in. We'll go north towards the airport and then probably north up into the other part of town. And we'll probably have a couple of routes that go east and west. And then probably an intermediate route that also runs north and south that kind of connects those. So you could be east of the city, hop on the train that goes west all the way to the end, catch the connection, and go north or south. And then when it's all said and done, there will be bus service that will connect parts of the neighborhood to each station. So think of it as buses feed metro, and metro takes you across town. And now I'm putting in that water treatment facility. It does work, but this is purely for looks. I was thinking to myself, what can I put here? If I was a city, I would try to get some of my infrastructure in the same area, because then it's probably a little easier to maintain, I guess. You know, less driving. You have one place to have a lot of employees manage and maintain things. So the water treatment plant and the metro depot will have a shared office space. And this would be our public works department, or at least part of our public works department, if that makes any sense. But why do we have a public works department when we don't even have a city hall? Who knows? So I'm adding these pipes to connect things and to make things look like they might work. I didn't realize until today that when I uninstalled natural disasters, I got rid of my freshwater outflow. Normally when I put in this, I usually put in a freshwater outflow somewhere that goes into a pond, which would be technically the overflow if the system is just inundated with water from, say, a sudden storm. And we just have to push water somewhere. And then that would be a controlled way to relieve some excess treated water back into the ground table, or into the water table. And then some landscaping. I think these are the concrete. I think these are concrete walls from the workshop, or are these the base ones? I can't tell. I haven't zoomed in close enough as I built it yet. That and the sun is in just the right spot where I can't see the graphic. Anyway, these walls, whether they're default or not, I'm using the anarchy tool for them, and it's just letting me place them. But if they are assets from the workshop, they're in the list, the Steam list collection that's linked down below. And that should hold off the mountain. We are literally building alongside the mountain. And here comes our office buildings. I'm like, does that work? Does that work? Like, maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't work. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have to put this in here. There we go. Now we're feeling the burn. Boom. And then they need a place to park. Welcome back to Parking Lot Simulator 2018. Who would have thought? And then I have to think to myself, but would we have maintained these roads very well? I really like the worn on-street parking set from the parking lot roads. And then while I'm doing this, and then, I'm thinking, this is a government building. I need to make sure that it's also accessible. Like all buildings should be accessible. Magic. So I add a little bit of details or delete some of the details, but I do something to cover that up. Big trucks have gone through here, and then now we're reserved. We need a visitor. Maybe there is one on the workshop and I haven't found it, but we need visitor. And then that little park, that little invisible park I plopped up, has a tourist attraction value to get people to park there, to help fill the parking lots. Fill the parking lots. Fill the parking lots. And surface painter, go. Now you notice how clean that looks. When you start a map, especially if you start sandbox or whatnot, when you start a map, paint a little bit of surface painter and then remember the cardinal directions that the little tiny grid that it follows, and put a road on top of those so you know the access or the grid that has. And if you build to that grid, you will have perfect surface painter in most of the stuff. And now we need lights. So we're wrapping up near the end. I'm going to let it just play out. Until next time, my name is Ezilii. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. I appreciate you. You can catch me here or over on Twitch. Blah, 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 blah. Raspberry for you. Until next time, be good to each other.